A healthier, happier life begins here. Welcome to Mercy Moments, a podcast by Mercy Health in association with TrueChat.
Did you know it is estimated that 1 in 3 children in the Urbana area live in poverty? That translates to well over 1,100 youths being listed as disadvantaged, which unfortunately can have a negative effect on their mental, physical, and socioeconomic development. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host for Mercy Moments, T. Allen Ceyler, coming to you from Champaign County here at TrueChat Studios in Urbana, Ohio. I have a special guest today. He is the producer of Mercy Moments, owner of TrueChat, and the host of his own podcast, The State of Us. He is also greatly involved in the Urbana Youth Center, which is actually what we're here to talk about today. Please welcome to the program, Justin Weller.
Terry, very excited to be here. Thanks for being willing to take time for us to discuss this today.
For those listeners that don't already know you from your podcast, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I'm the owner of TrueChat, as you mentioned, which was founded in 2011, and it's a network of shows. So it's not just The State of Us, my program, but also this one that we're on today, Mercy Moments. So we have a lot of in-house programs. We also work with other organizations like Mercy Health to produce that podcast. So, but I'm one of the co-founders and one of the owners of the company today. And we're based in Urbana, Ohio, which is also where, of course, the Urbana Youth Center is.
Now, you were born here in Urbana, correct?
Right. I've been here pretty much most of my life, but yes, I grew up here and have been here for about 90% of the time I've been alive.
So why did you decide to start TrueChat?
Well, TrueChat at the time was, and I think it's probably just as relevant today as it was in 2011, sort of a response to the noise that's out there. And the other thing it was a response to really when we started was my best friend and I kind of decided that, you know, there's a lot of small towns don't get the kind of media attention they deserve, the death of local news media, that kind of stuff. So we started broadcasting local sporting events. And we called it internet radio at the time because nobody, of course, knew what a podcast was. So we had to really break it down for folks. But that's kind of how it started. And then it's evolved over the years into what it is today.
Now, you left Urbana for a while, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was gone for a couple of years. I mean, I left for college. And then we headquartered TrueChat in Cincinnati for a while, spent some time in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then ultimately moved back.
So how did you get involved in the youth center?
Well, the youth center, it's a long story, but in the interest of keeping it not overly detailed, which I am sure most people would find kind of boring. The long and short of it is one of the reasons I moved back to Urbana was because I felt that it was important that if people see problems in the world and they're willing to talk about them, they also need to be willing to do something about them. And so ultimately, that's why. I mean, that's why the youth center started was we knew this data, we knew these were problems, and it kind of came down to, if not me, then who, and if not now, then when. Did I have a lot of time on my plate to do it? No. Was I sitting on a big pile of money that made it easy to make it happen? No. But I'm not sure that those are good reasons to not move forward when we know that the need for these children is as great as it is.
So in layman's terms, what exactly is the youth center?
Well, the Urbana Youth Center provides comprehensive youth services to reach, restore, and revive the local community. Now, what that ultimately boils down to is that we serve about 550 student members in grades 6 through 12 who live in or attend Urbana City schools. So they might live in the school district, open enroll someplace else, or they might, commute into the district. But that's what qualifies somebody to become a student member.
So how exactly did it get started?
We began work in 2019, about November of 2019, and officially became part of the Grand Works Foundation in early 2020, and then the search for a location began.
So in layman's terms, what exactly is the center's mission?
Basically, what we're seeking to do is address those fundamental issues facing our youth. I mean, you highlighted at the beginning of the show, 1 in 3 in the Urbana area live in poverty, according to the Census Bureau. And there's over 1,100 students, according to the Ohio Department of Education, that are disadvantaged economically. So everything we do is focused around how do we provide a safe space that constructively builds resilient young people who can enter the workforce and be productive members of society.
I'm kind of interested to find out exactly how the youth center came to be at its current location.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously, when we began the search, this is sort of a unique endeavor. So finding the right place is tricky. And obviously in a town like Urbana, there's only so much available real estate. So you're looking at, there's a very small number of physical facilities that are a good fit that are existing, or you're into building something. Well, of course, this was all a theory at the time. I mean, no students had actually showed up. So, you had to be practical about, are you going to build something? Are you going to buy something? And I mean, we went out on, a little bit of a leap of faith in acquiring our current location, which is the former Champaign County Public Library. And it's only really had pretty much 2 owners for most of its life. So it was the library, and then it was privately held until we acquired it in November of 2020. But ultimately we decided on it because we thought at the time, 8,000 square feet, it's a historic structure in Urbana. It needs a lot of work, but that's part of what GrantWorks is trying to do. They are also responsible for having purchased the Gloria Theater and, having brought that back to life. So it fit very well within that mission. But we also thought 8,000 square feet would be plenty. And then, of course, the student response was so strong that now we're looking at how to expand the building.
Now, that building was a part of Urbana University previously, correct?
It was tied closely to Urbana University because it was the public library. It was not directly owned or managed by Urbana University.
I see. So without going into too much detail at this point, because we're going to talk a lot more about the programs in segment 2, but generally speaking, what are some of the services that the youth center offers? So
we could talk about that all day, and I know, as you mentioned, we'll get into detail later. But we basically separate things into our core programs and auxiliary programs. So core programs are things like hangout spaces, our nutrition program, homework and study assistance, our hygiene program, and then auxiliary programs are things like arts and crafts, Legos, physical activity, music exploration, and that list goes on and on and on. So they're kind of in those 2 buckets, but it's a big lineup of programs. I believe over 20 different individual programs now.
So I know you just talked about GrantWorks, but what are some of the other major players involved?
So the youth center is definitely a collaboration amongst the community. I'm the executive director of the center. But obviously our staff and the great team of volunteers are really the front line of who make it happen on that day-to-day basis. And so we have probably about 20 different people that, rotate in and out volunteer-wise. And there's 3 full-time staff, all of who started out as volunteers. So I'm not sure they were looking for a job, but they found a job. And then, when you build out into the community, there's lots of local businesses, and hopefully it's not too much of a spoiler to our audience that one of our significant supporters in the community is Mercy Health. So I think it's great that you guys are doing this podcast, and Mercy actually is the one that provides the meals. So we serve dinner as part of I mentioned the nutrition program. We serve meals Tuesdays and Thursdays to students at no cost to them. And Mercy has really stepped up and has filled that Tuesday need for meals, which is just fantastic. And that's just, one great example of different community partners who are finding ways to help. So some local employers, large local employers like Bundy Baking Solutions, Rittal Manufacturing, Park National Bank, collectively have contributed more than almost $100,000 to the project in less than a year. So, and there's a big list. The faith community is involved. a number of different churches. The Caring Kitchen handles meals on Thursdays. So you could spend a long time listing off the many, many different people that are involved.
So can you expand a little more about how GrandWorks works?
Yes. How does GrandWorks work? GrandWorks was started in 2014. It was founded by the Urbana United Methodist Church as an independent organization from the church. So it's not owned by or run by the church. They set it up with the mission to reach, restore, and revive Urbana and Champaign County. And the way that project got started was the Gloria Theater, which at the time had closed. It was a twin cinema owned by Shackers, which was a movie theater chain until not too long ago. And they just couldn't make the economics of it work. So they shut it down. They were looking to sell it. And really the prospects were probably that it was going to become an empty lot because redeveloping movie theaters is tricky. The auditorium has a sloped floor. It was an old building. It needed a lot of work. It was designed to be a movie theater or some kind of live performing arts venue. So unless you were going to put something like that there are not a lot of opportunities. So ultimately, GrandWorks was set up as the vehicle for the church to purchase the theater. And then once they paid off that mortgage, their membership paid off that mortgage, they gifted it to the foundation.
I see.
Deeded it over. So it's a nonprofit, a 501c3, and it runs several independent projects, of which are the Gloria Theater and the Urbana Youth Center. So the funds for those are separate, but where possible, they pool resources together under that one umbrella. So things like governance, accounting, fundraising, a lot of that stuff is centralized to cut down on costs that would be duplicated if they were separate entities.
After the break, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the actual offerings of the Youth Center, the things that are still left to be done, and how others can get involved. We'd like to take this time to remind our listeners that all of TrueChat's podcasts help pursue a common goal: to educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations and information. To learn more about Mercy Moments, listen to the recap at the end of the program. And to search for previous episodes or find ways to listen, please visit us at mercymoments.org. Our topic today has been about the Urbana Youth Center and our speaker, Justin Weller. Justin, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Terry.
So walk us through exactly how and why a youth would contact the center.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, when we talk about comprehensive youth services, that's a big umbrella, right? People, in fact, we've had some pushback before on comprehensive. That sounds like a lot. And it is a lot. I mean, right. I just talked to you about, at least 20 different programs. So yeah, it is a lot because students come to us with all manner of different needs, right? We've got some that are in a position where they don't have either of their, biological parents at home. They're living with a grandma who maybe, has her own challenges because she's old. She wasn't exactly, preparing to raise young children. To parents that might be in jail, to other students who have parents at home, but, they wear the same set of clothes every day. And then to students that are, struggling in school. Maybe they've got a pretty decent home life, but they're just not getting by great with school, or they're struggling with mental health issues or physical health issues. Students who don't have enough to eat at home. So that's where we talk about, there's a lot of different reasons somebody could contact us, and those are just a few. But ultimately, we look at our hangout spaces as the door that opens to all these programs that I imagine you're going to be asking me more about. It's what allows them to come in the door and say, this is a safe place for you to hang out. There's books, board games, video games, all kinds of stuff. And then that lets us build trust with them. Because for so many of these students, trust is just not something that's present in their life when it comes to adults.
And consistency. Yeah.
Consistency, which I think is a component of trust, right? Do I know that you're going to be there when I get home? Do I know there's going to be food? You said you were going to do this. Did you do it? And did you do it consistently? And for a lot of them, the answer to those questions is no. They don't have any reason to trust us that we can help them. So the hangout space begins to build that trust and lets us get to know them, which then leads us to all of these many other things that we do.
We did briefly touch on the services that you offer in segment one. One is the homework and study assistance program. How exactly does that work, Justin?
So homework and study assistance is an ever-growing initiative, but it's one that we've had since the day we opened. And basically, it's a dedicated space at the youth center where if you just need a quiet place with reliable internet to sit down and work on homework independently, you can do that. So kind of like a study hall space. That can also be undervalued by folks because a lot of these students may not have that at home, right? They may not have a quiet place to work on their schoolwork, or they may not have reliable internet, or both. So we don't want to devalue the importance of just providing that. But then also there's a study group that meets there for students that might need some extra help. And we can also get them connected with tutors. And a forthcoming as part of our homework and study assistance broader umbrella is our high school equivalency program for students that are credit deficient. So that would mean that they cannot graduate from high school on time, even if they're doing summer school and working really hard. It just can't be done. They're probably going to be part of that 15% in Urbana City schools that drop out and do not graduate. So we look to bring them into our program, get them a high school equivalency diploma, and get them a job.
And we talked about the food program as well. Besides Mercy, who else is involved in that?
So the Caring Kitchen, which we mentioned is one of the partners, Mercy, we're open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2:30 to 7:30 p.m. for students. Our staff is there full time. And so Tuesdays, Mercy Health handles the meal and brings in the food. And then on Thursdays, it's the Caring Kitchen. And then sometimes there's other community partners who will buy pizza for one night and give Mercy or the Caring Kitchen a break because, they're working hard week in and week out to make sure we've got that food. So those are really, but those two entities, Mercy and the Caring Kitchen, are the ones really that are responsible for the dinner portion. Our snack program, which is part of the nutrition program, provides an assortment of different food right after school up until a half hour before dinner. And that's primarily a partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank.
And like you said, the center can also just simply be a safe space, a place for the kids to hang out. What are the hours of the center?
Yeah, so 2:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the hope is to get, to 5 days a week or even 7 days a week eventually. But that's a limit of operational funds that are available.
I see. And, as far as the career and mentoring program, who are some of the speakers that come and talk to the youth? So
we have career exploration. We have our mentoring program. One of the things that we did recently is we did a career trip to Bundy and Ratal, which we mentioned are big financial supporters of the youth center. So during a school day at Urbana, we were able to take 25 students and bus them to Bundy and Ratal, and they toured the facilities, learned about the different job opportunities, and we actually had several students that applied and are now working at those facilities. So career exploration is an ongoing thing. Back in the summer, we did plane rides at the local flight school at Urbana Grimes Airport. So, and then we also had career exploration at a local tire shop, how to change a tire, which was both basic life skills, but also, you could be a mechanic, you could work in this shop. We did a trip to Boulder Design, which is a graphic design studio in Urbana. And they learned about, different careers in marketing. So lots of different stuff, but most of the time, these are people that are working right here in the community, talking to these students about what do they do and what's available here.
And you guys also have a hygiene program. How exactly does that work?
So it's available every night we're open. And like everything else, it's free. So shampoo, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, all that kind of stuff that you might need. We don't want a student who cannot maintain good hygiene simply because they don't have access to the appropriate supplies. So that program focuses on keeping it front and center at the youth center, and it's available to everybody. So we work hard to try to remove barriers for students at the youth center because, for example, with the nutrition program, if it wasn't free to everybody, then there'd be a lot of people not participate in it because of the shame of participating in it. Same thing with the hygiene program. If you need it, we want you to have access to it.
Now, so do you guys have set staff, or can other people get involved?
So right now we have the executive director, myself, director of operations, Judy Richardson, and director of programs, Natalie Free. We have a forthcoming director of development, Ali Matuzik, and that is the staff. Then we also have the volunteer corps, which is absolutely essential, and we alluded to that in the first segment. So that's a great way if folks are interested in getting involved to help out, because we don't have enough staff to man the entire building each night we're open. So that's how important volunteers are. If the volunteers don't show up, we can't be open. It's that simple.
I see. So out of the various programs, what would you say is the greatest need right now?
That's it's difficult to boil it down to one thing. And that's partly because the programs work in tandem. For example, the hangout space is important because it provides a safe space. But like we talked about, it's the doorway that gets them to homework and study assistance, into the nutrition program, into the hygiene program, gets them to take a chance and maybe do Lego building or book folding or go on a career trip. And those things play together. You know, if we can bring a student in because of the hangout space, and then we can get them a meal and we can get them some shampoo, they're a lot more likely to trust us. And then we can get them into homework and study assistance, and we can improve their grades, and then we can show them a career. So, you know, by that argument, I guess you could say that the hangout spaces are the most important. But I don't think that they would be as valuable if you didn't have the other programs that build upon the trust that is built as part of the hangout space.
I see. So you talked about expansion earlier. So what's the future hold for the center?
So we're wrapping up right now a $280,000 renovation project of the old library, and those are funds largely made available from the state of Ohio. And now we're looking at a $1.5 million expansion of the facility next calendar year, so in 2022. And that will basically double the square footage of the youth center as it stands today, including an indoor recreation space, new administrative spaces. It'll take us from being able to run 3 simultaneous auxiliary programs to 9 a night, so triple the auxiliary program capacity. And it'll provide a dedicated resource room. It'll also let us build out our laundry service and further the hygiene program by putting in a single user restroom with shower, so that students can not only launder their clothes, but they can also bathe. And we'll have a clothing program then as well, so students can get additional clothing they need. So it's a, you know, as $1.5 million would hopefully communicate to people, it's going to greatly expand the services that we're able to offer to our existing student members.
Now, a lot of this information can be found on your website, correct?
That's right. It's urbanayouth.center or urbanayouthcenter.org. Both will take you to the same place.
Now, walk us through some of the features of the website.
So the website's something that we're always building, you know, and trying to improve, because it's a hub for a lot of different things, right? If Terry's sitting at home and is interested in volunteering, you're probably going to go there. If Terry's sitting at home and has a child and wants to sign him up for the youth center, you're probably headed to the website. And if you're a potential donor, you might be headed to the website to learn about what we do. So or if you're an educator and have a student that has a need and you want to connect them, you might be headed there. So the website has to serve a lot of different people. So there are services for everybody there, pages specifically for students, parents, volunteers, and educators, so that they have access to information about the youth center that would be pertinent to them. But the main thing is the youth center allows new students to register for membership at the youth center. So it's critical. We also use it as a gateway to sign up for trips. So that's another big part of our programming. Just last Friday, a week ago, at the time of recording this, we took about 50 students to the Columbus Zoo to see the zoo lights.
Wow.
At no cost to them. And about 70% of the students that were on that trip had never been to any zoo anywhere. let alone the Columbus Zoo and its wonderful, zoo light program. So there's opportunities like that that we try to build in as well. And all of that, the website is the hub for a lot of that activity, announcements, that kind of stuff.
And they can follow you on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook also, correct?
Yep. All of those are linked on our website. So if you go there, there's the social icons and you can get to those pages.
Is there any special numbers or that they can call to text?
Yep. So the main youth center phone number is 937-772-4022. And you call that whether you're a student, volunteer, donor, whoever you are, that's the place to start. And you can also text that number. So you can call or text that number, whatever is easiest for you.
Well, that pretty much does it for the program today. A quick reminder, our goal here at Mercy Moments is to promote local resources, awareness, and involvement. Therefore, if you have any comments related to past episodes or have suggestions for future programs, please contact us at taceyler@mercy.com. That's capital TACEYLER@mercy.com. Again, I'd like to thank my guest today, Justin Weller, for being here. You can listen to Mercy Moments on TrueChat via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere else fine podcasts are found. For Mercy Moments, Mercy Health Urbana Hospital, and TrueChat, I'm your host, T. Allen Ceyler.
And I'm Justin Weller.
Thanks for listening today. Stay healthy, Ohio.